Hello and welcome to this set of notes on how to properly read a paycheck. So if you have a job that's not paying you under the table, hopefully, obviously you're getting paychecks. Hopefully you already know how to read them, but we're going to go over that just in case. Okay? So here's an example paycheck, or pay stub as you might call it. All right, and I know the writing's small, so make sure you're looking at your own notes for this as well as watching the video. There's a lot of things going on here, and there's a lot of numbers and there's a lot of titles. What I'm going to try and do is break this down to be as simple as possible and explain some of these things so that when you get your paycheck, you're like, oh, okay, I know where this, I know what this number is. I know what this means. Because otherwise, what if something is going wrong with your paycheck? What if you're not making, or what if you're not getting as much money as you should? You should really understand your paycheck so that you're not losing money. The first section we're going to look at over here is earnings. Earnings is how much money you're making. And you'll notice that there's two rows for current and then YTD. Current means for this particular paycheck. YTD means year to date. It means how much money you've made so far this year up until this point. So for this person, their current paycheck, the gross pay, is $261.53. For the year to date, their pay has been $4,630.01. There's a section that says taxes. This is how much money you're paying taxes, how much money you're paying in taxes on this paycheck, $69.13, and how much you've paid for the year to date, $779.35. Okay, we don't have to talk about the deductions part right here. There's another row. It says earnings type. So this is basically the information on the money that you're getting paid. You'll notice that this is for earnings, and it says, let's see, so your regular pay rate. $8.2500. That's how much money you're making per hour. Current quantity is how many hours you worked during this paycheck. Current amount, notice there's that 261.53 again. That corresponds to the 261.53 up here. That's how much money you made this paycheck. And again, there's the year to date. So this section is all about your earnings. Okay? And I should note that every paycheck is different, but they all have some general features in common. Over here, we have a section for deductions, okay? Deductions and taxes. So, under Medicare, we have an amount for this paycheck and also a year-to-date amount. I won't read all the amounts. We have Social Security, federal, okay? So we've all talked about all these. Federal is federal income tax. It says additional federal tax. You can actually ask for more to be withheld per paycheck for federal income tax. The reason you might want to do that is so you don't have to pay any additional taxes at the end of the year, or if you want a tax refund at the end of the year. There's a New York, so this is a New York paycheck. There's a New York state tax on here and additional state tax. And then I'm not entirely sure what this is. Looks like an additional sort of New York state tax. And again, we have amounts for these for this particular paycheck, and we have year-to-date amounts. All right. All the way down here, we have net pay, and it says $192.40, and check amount $192.40. The only other thing that I can think to talk about is we have these dates up here. These are the dates that the person was getting paid on. So let's answer these questions. We've talked about what all these different numbers and headings and columns are. We can now answer these questions. What is the person's hourly rate? Well, we talked about that. The hourly rate is this rate right up here. So I'm going to put a 1, and I'm going to write in their hourly rate is $8.25 per hour. How many hours did this person work this week? We talked about that as well. That's this current quantity right here. They worked 31.7 hours. Number 3 is not a question that comes from the paycheck. It's just kind of a general math question. How many minutes is 0.70 hours? Now, you might be a little stumped on this one, but we can use a proportion to figure this out. If we want to know how many minutes are in 0.7 hours, if I write 0.7h up here, 0.7h out of 1h, in other words, 0.7 hours out of 1 hour, how many minutes are in 1 hour? That would be 60 minutes. Okay? So 0.7 over 1 must be equal to x over 60. In other words, how many minutes 0.7 is out of 60 minutes. We end up doing 1 times x, which is just x, equals 0.7 times 60. 42 minutes. Okay, 42 minutes. Now, number 4 says, what is the gross pay for the week? The gross pay is the current earnings. That's right up here. So that is $261.53. Okay? How much money was deducted for Medicare? Well, Medicare for this paycheck is listed right here. It looks like $3.60. And the next question is, what percentage is this? Well, if I want to figure out what percentage of our gross pay is 360, if the gross pay is 261.53, I can use a proportion for this as well. 360 over 261.53 equals x over 100. We're trying to solve for the percentage. This is the part, this is the whole, is of percent over 100. So I'm going to do 3.60 times 100 equals 261.53 times x. I'm going to end up dividing this by 261.53. Oops, did a mistake. Oh, hold on. Oh, that's 380, excuse me. 380. Don't have my glasses on, that's why I couldn't read that. So 380 times 100 divided by 261.53. Look at that, we get about 1.45%. And that should be familiar to you because Medicare is taxed at a rate of 1.45% of your gross pay. How much money was deducted for Social Security during this pay period? Again, that's right up here, $16.21. There we go. What would this person's annual salary be, assuming they work 40 hours a week for 52 weeks? Well, we know that the rate is $8.25, so this is a little bit of review from Unit 1. If you want to figure out their annual pay, first you should probably figure out their weekly pay. $8.25 per hour times 40 hours will give us the weekly pay. $8.25 times 40 is $330. If it's $330 per week, we multiply by 52 weeks. This person is making $17,160 per week, or excuse me, per year. Okay, a little bit of review from Unit 1. How much total federal tax was taken out of this check? That'll be right here. The federal income tax is $35.42, but there's an additional federal tax of $20. So $35.42 plus 20 is $55.42. And what is his net pay for the week? Net pay is listed right down here. Notice it's different than the gross pay. It is $192.40. Now, why is it lower? Well, remember, gross pay is how much is on the paycheck. That's how much the employer is paying you, but you have to pay taxes on all that stuff. So the net pay is your gross pay minus your taxes and deductions. And as a matter of fact, if I were to, I have the taxes listed here, $69.13. That should correspond to the amount of taxes and deductions that I have here. Let's see if it does. 380 plus $16.21 plus 35.42 plus 20. Oh, I guess they're not including that. So 3.80 plus 16.21, sorry about that, plus 35.42 plus 13.10 plus 0.60. 69.13. So it looks like for the taxes, they're not including the additional state tax and the additional federal tax for some reason. Not quite sure why that is. I can get back to you on that one. But anyways, the taxes that the person is paying is $69.13. So what that means is that if we take the earnings, 261.53, and subtract 69.13, we get 192.4 or $192.40. What I'm thinking now is that for the federal tax and the state tax, okay, these $8 just show how much extra the person is paying. The $20 shows how much extra they're paying in federal income tax. So I'm thinking that normally, if they didn't want to pay that extra $20, they would only be paying, let's see, this minus 20, so $15.42. I'm thinking that's how it's been factored in. Okay? Anyways, that's the basics of looking at a paycheck. Let's look at one more together. Oh, come on. Okay, so let's make sure we can read this whole thing. All right. So, similar sort of thing. It's a different looking paycheck, but the basic information is still the same. You just might have to look in a slightly different place. This one's getting cut off a little bit. You can see it just says kind of like NINGS, so it should be earnings, and then hours and amount. We can see that the hours is $74 or 74.25, and the amount is 891.00. Down here we have our gross pay, we have our deductions or taxes, and we have our net pay right there. Our taxes are listed down here, and they're listed a little bit differently. We have FICA-P, federal tax, state tax, and FICA-M. And notice over here we have all the year-to-date information, okay? So how much they've made up until this point. Gross, FICA, federal, state, and then another FICA. The two FICAs, again, are P and M. P, I believe, stands for Social Security, at least it should be. And FICA-M stands for Medicare, okay? So, again, we're going to go through and look at all the different information on this paycheck. How many hours did the person work these past 2 weeks? Well, that's very easy. It says hours are up there. 74 hours, 74.25 hours. What was his gross pay for the pay period? Amount, right there. $891.00. Well, if that's the case, what is this person's hourly rate? Well, if they made $891 and worked for 74.25 hours, dividing the amount by the total number of hours they worked should give us their rate. Actually, I'll just write it on the line. 891 divided by 74.25 is 12. Their hourly rate is $12 per hour. At this hourly rate of $12 per hour, what would this person's annual salary be? Let's make the same assumptions we did last time. The assumptions we made were they work 40 hours a week, so 12 times 40 is $480 per week, and they work 52 weeks per year. This person should be making approximately $24,960 per year. There we go. Number 5, how much money was deducted for Medicare, FICA-M? That's right here, $12.91. What about for Social Security? Again, I said Social Security is this FICA-P, so that's up here, $37.42. What percentage is this? Well, if we do $37.42 divided by their gross pay of $891, we want to find the percentage of this. We solve for X, and we get about 4.2, which is interesting because we're used to saying that Social Security is 6.2% of your gross pay. That's how much you have to pay in Social Security. Now, these taxes, the reason that it's a little different, the tax amounts can change based on laws that Congress passes. So Social Security and Medicare, those are federal programs, and the fact that they're federal programs means that if Congress decides to pass a change to this program, then they can. And then you have to pay either more or less depending on how they change it, depending on how they change the tax percentage. The state and local taxes can change like this too. For example, when I was a kid, I remember that Oneida County's tax, the sales tax rate in Oneida County when you make purchases on things was 8%. Now I believe it's up to 8.75%. Okay, so legislation, okay, government can change how much money or what percentage of tax that you have to pay. How much total federal tax was taken out of this check? Let's see, federal tax is right up here. Looks like $110.15. What's the net pay for the week? Remember, net pay is listed right here. It says net pay. And we can double check this, but net pay is your gross pay minus any deductions and taxes. Our gross pay was $891. The deductions are listed as $199.25, and that gives us our net pay of $691.75. And just to double check everything, deductions should be the total of all the taxes and deductions taken out. So that's Social Security, FICA-P, $37.42, plus $110.15 for federal income tax, plus state income tax of $36.77, plus a FICA, let's see, oh, did I do this right? 37.42 plus 1.15 plus 36.77 plus 12.91. I see what happened. Okay. So if we just add up the taxes right here, we get $197.25, $197.25. That means we're $2 short for the deductions, but we look here, we skipped over this the first time. This person is making a contribution to United W, that's United Way, that's a charity. Some businesses offer to deduct some of your paycheck to go to charity. They might have a program for that. So this person's getting an extra $2 deducted from their paycheck, and that brings us to our total deductions of $199.25, which brings us to our net pay. Our last question, let me bring this up for you. How much money gross has this person earned so far this year? Again, we're going to look right up here where it says year to date, gross, $7,668.00. So there's a little bit about properly reading a paycheck. All of them are different, but they all have relatively the same categories. Okay? Next time, we're actually going to practice calculating these different taxes that come out of a paycheck. Today, we're just familiarizing ourselves with what the paycheck looks like. Next time, we'll actually be kind of practicing everything we've learned in this unit together to figure out someone's net pay, how much money they actually receive. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I'll see you soon.